was called Under the L's by Westchester Square. Caught the guy that owed me money, and well, I gave him a beating. The FBI was right there.
Welcome back to the Goodfellow Podcast. In today's episode, Joe and I will be talking about his role as an undercover FBI informant, what they did to him, how they treated him, and why Joe says that the FBI is actually more criminal than the Mafia. Welcome back to the show, Joe. How you doing today?
Good, thanks. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming back on. First, I want to start with this. I want to know, how did you first get involved with the FBI? And did you approach them, or did they approach you? And how did that interaction first go?
The FBI approached me when I took my first pinch. They, of course, you know how they always do. You're facing a lot of time. Don't forget, I got caught in the commission of a crime. I was beating some guy down in the Bronx at the Thomas E. Bible Funeral Home. It was called Under the L's by Westchester Square. Caught the guy that owed me money, and well, I gave him a beating. The FBI was right there. The FBI had him wearing a wire because he was going to set up.
Setup.
Oh yeah, he was going to set up his own. Not even for me. He was setting up his own brother. His brother Dennis Bricolo, who actually wrote a comment in our comments, and so he was actually going to set him up. I just that I happened to see him. I was with some girl. I pulled over, and I told him the next time I seen him, which they did play that in court at my bail hearing and all of that stuff, that I would, next time I see you, you're both going to get it or something like that. I said on the recording, and sure enough, I didn't learn not to use the phone back then, and so they had that recording, and then of course they had me beating him up, and they had that recording, and so they didn't give me bail.
So they pinched you for this, and then what was it? When was it that they mentioned to you, like, hey, we have an alternative option for you?
Well, right away they take you down to the headquarters. At that time, it was in New Rochelle. It was up the Sheraton Hotel. They had a room or floor or something like that up there, and so I'm handcuffed and everything. The girl got arrested with me too. Nothing happened to her. I told her, "Don't worry, you don't know nothing about me, so you're okay. Don't be afraid." And they told me, "Oh, you're getting 10 years and this and this and that." And well, whatever. They always try to convince you to talk. So I didn't talk to them. I just asked them for my phone call. They put me in New Rochelle. They locked me up in New Rochelle Police Department, and then I guess had to go to court or whatever. And then that's it. I never saw the street no more. But what happened was, I had a legal aid attorney. I didn't want to spend the money at the time. She was going to try to get me 3 years, so that wasn't bad. But that was Susan Brody. I don't know if she's still with the legal system or not. But then something happened. I don't know if they were trying to give her to run around or whatever. So then I hired another attorney, Bruce Bendish, up in White Plains, New York. So I gave him $65,000 at that time, and I had him for an attorney. Well, sure enough, I was in Otisville, New York. I got out of there, and they sent me down to MCC, where I caught a superseding indictment with my uncle Chick. And they just added more charges, and they just wanted to get him too, so they wanted to put us together. It was just bullshit. But anyway, while I was at MCC, I think I'm getting pulled. I was actually with Vic Amuso, and I think I told the story. I was with Vic Amuso from he was the boss of the Lucchese family, and he pulled me to the side and he said, "Listen," he says, "they're going to interview you now." How he knew this, I have no idea. He says, and you sit there, you listen. I told him, I said, "They're going to interview me." He goes, "Look, you sit there, you listen." He says, and he had like that kind of funny voice. He said, "Joey, you sit there, you listen," like he was the real deal too. And he says, "You at the end of everything," and you said to them, you tell them just like this, and I never forget it. He said, "You tell them, I'd love to help you, but I'm not even in a position to help myself." And I remember that to this day, and that's 30 years ago. But anyways, I get pulled down there. I think I'm going to catch either another charge or whatever's going on. The marshals walk me to this hallway, and in the hallway were two FBI agents. One of them that is actually was there on my arrest. there was Vinny Pizzuti, who became my handling agent later on, and a guy Michael Harkins or something like that. Anyway, the marshal said, "You're going with them now," and I was like, "What the heck?" Because I was like, "Where's this hallway?" I went in there. The assistant U.S. attorney was there. My attorney was there, and these two agents. So I looked at I said, "Bruce," and he was like, so I said, "Could I have a minute with my attorney?" They said, "Yes." They walked out of the room, and then I started talking. I said, "Bruce, what happened here?" He says, "I don't know, Joe." He says, "They just called me. They said, you have to be here. You're his attorney." And by right, I guess that's like a thing they have to call him. And he said, "Look, you got nothing else to do. Listen to him." And that's how it started. They came back in, and then we started talking. And just so everybody knows, I didn't cooperate right then and there.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was your first initial thoughts walking away from that interview?
Well, the interview, and I don't want to get into it because I want this to go on a little longer than most of the time. This was the time that they showed me a stack of photos like this of my father. They dug him up, and all that stuff. So let's not get into all of that. But this is how they told me, and they were like saying, "Listen, this is the life you're going down, the road you're going down. This is the life you're is no good," and all of this kind of stuff. And basically, all I said to them was like, "Oh, I appreciate it, whatever." I was angry. I did cry there. I'm not going to lie.
How old were you?
I was 30 years old, I think.
Okay.
29 or 30, something like that. 29 or 30 years old, I think. So this is how they did it. So I stewed on it for a little while. I seen my lawyer again. Obviously, they reached out to him, and so I said, "Look, I don't know what to do." In a way, he didn't tell me not to cooperate, and he didn't tell me to cooperate. Okay, because he knew a lot of good guys too, a lot of gangsters too.
Right.
But I was trying to think, what could I do? How could this happen? I figured, well, something at that meeting when I talked to them the first time, they knew a lot of different things. I figured maybe I could use them, maybe to find out who killed my father. And so I said, I'll sit down and talk with him to see what it would entail. And they did the usual baloney, we can't promise you anything, any information you give us. It's like what they give the judge is what they call a 5K1 letter. So the judge knows if you did work with them or help with them, and then he lowers your sentence.
Right.
So then I decided to just work with them, and like I said, I had my own agenda. I just wanted to find out if it was true, if that was really what happened to
Which
my father.
leads me into my next question: is what ultimately was the factor that made you say yes to them?
It was just all about my father. Like I said, I'm not trying to be saying anything. Like there was a comment mentioned on the Connect with with John Mitchell, good guy. Had a great time on the show. I appreciate him inviting me on his podcast. But there was a comment made on there, and the guy said, "Well, you guys always make me laugh. You're involved in this life, and then when something happens to somebody that gets killed in there, then all of a sudden you become a rat." That sounds good and all of that stuff, but there's so many different things to go into that. First of all, I was not a wise guy. I wasn't at that time not even really an associate, okay? I was doing my own thing. Number two is I love people who talk and they think, I like to see what they would do if they were in my shoes or anybody else's shoes for that matter. Everybody, which is good. I'm okay with the good vibe, the bad vibes, whatever it may be, whatever opinions you have. But as far as I'm concerned, even if I was a full-fledged wise guy and I knew that this is what it in details, he's still my father, so I really don't care. Look, if a policeman gets killed on the job, does the family mourn for them, or do they wish they can get justice for their father? Well, I'm really not that much different then. So I don't really care. This is how I was, and this is what I did. I'm not happy about the decision I made 100%, of course not. But this is, I felt like this is what was my only way to avenge my father.
Right.
Maybe find out something.
So ultimately, your dad, trying to find out what happened to your dad, was the boiling factor that made you go with them.
Well, that's it, because basically I wasn't facing really that much time, even if it was 10 years. Look, for what I did, first of all, it don't really warrant 10 years, but whatever. They say it does. I don't know. I was still trying to cop a plea, and get a deal, and then I was going to do my time. I mean, I had family back then. I had support. My immediate family, not the wise guy family, but I was going to do my time with no problem. I still did 4 years. Well, actually, I got 4 years sentence, and I did 3 years and 6 months. I still did that with no problem. I was in prison, so it wasn't like I was afraid of prison. But this is what it is now, and that's it. It was just about my father. That's all there is to it.
What were some of your first thoughts and feelings toward working undercover? Some of your hesitations?
Well, first of all, I never told anybody. I mean, I got beat up in a street fight, and we'll go into this another time. This kid, Damon Romanelli, tough kid. Everybody knew it. From Mamaroneck, New York. Matter of fact, he went to the Marines just to learn how to fight. He had that big tattoo with the Marine thing on him.
Yeah.
He was tough. I think he was like 5'10", 250 pounds.
Holy
solid
shit.
muscle, yeah. An animal. I fought him. He beat me, straight up. The cops came there, and one of the guys I knew, the cop, and he said, "Oh, Joey, man, what do you want to do with this kid?" Now, I could have pressed charges on him right there. I was bloody, and the whole 9 yards. And I said, "No, nothing." He said, "Well, just go to." They said, "Just go to the hospital, get yourself checked out." And I didn't say anything to the guy. And matter of fact, the guy went around bragging that I could have got him in trouble, and I didn't. Matter of fact, I happened to see him in Valhalla. He got arrested because he shot some guy's almost his whole leg off.
Oh my!
Yeah, it
with
was
what? A shotgun?
a
or
shotgun.
something? Oh
Yeah.
my god!
Guys could look that up. I think the guy's name was Raul. I knew Raul. Raul was another tough guy too, but I don't know if they were related or not. But something happened.
They
I
put his
don't
leg
know.
back on. Or?
Well, he walks with a limp now. The guy,
Oh.
he's
Poor guy.
Exactly, but we actually said Damon was a good guy as far as that was concerned, and but I could have ratted right there if I was no good, and that was in the '80s, okay? Because somebody had mentioned another comment. I was a rat from the '80s, and I think I answered it on the last podcast about the Sinis brothers in Portchester. So that's why I laugh. I mean, actually, Damon Romanelli had gotten arrested for robbing the the New England. There was a toll booth on the New Rochelle Larchmont border. Mm-hmm. He robbed 250,000. So
From a toll booth?
yeah,
They keep that much money in the toll booths?
I don't know, man. This is what I heard. I don't know how true it is or whatever.
He must have robbed every toll booth in fucking.
Yeah, who knows what he did? He was so crazy himself too, But basically, in all honesty, I didn't get him in trouble, and I took my licks like a man, and that was it. So
Right.
I don't really, like I said, I'm not here to prove myself one way or another. I'm just here to tell the truth, and that's it. It was hard to answer your question. It was difficult for me because I'm not a rat. Look, my bicycle got stolen. I never called the police. Another guy broke my car window. I found out who he was later on. He broke my car window to steal my stereo, but because of the guys in the neighborhood knew it was my car, they said, "Oh, this is a friend of ours. Like, leave it alone." And blah 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 blah. And they were black guys that did it.
So
one black guy.
It really went against every fiber of your being to do this. But
Yeah, because they called him. Now, if I didn't really care about the black kid or whatever the case may be, they called him Slim Witty from Co-op City because he come up from the Bronx, from Co-op City there, and he was up in New Rochelle and he broke the car window. I thought I was gonna. The guy tried to get nasty with my sister. Said, "You're gonna call the police?" Like, he surrounded her. But all my other friends that were there, all the other black guys I grew up with and knew, they said, "Oh, well, leave her alone. Don't bother with her." And I appreciate that they did that because we were all friends. I mean, let's face it.
Right.
And but nobody ever did call the cops. We just got the window fixed, And then so she told me about it, my sister, and I said, "Well, what's he wearing? I don't know if I'm going to go, but I did go there, and I happened to beat up the wrong guy at that time. I don't know. I'll tell you about that another time if you want." But so we know what it was. Just something we didn't do. We just kept our mouth shut. It was almost like embedded in us. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, how did the FBI prepare you for your role as an informant? Did they tell you give you any, kind of guidance or anything, or were you on your own?
On my own. Here it was. I was going to work with the FBI, and as a felon, you're not even supposed to carry a gun. So I don't know any gangster that doesn't have access to a gun. I don't care what level status he is, even an associate like myself was,
Right.
They didn't prepare me for anything. The only thing they ever said to me, which my handler, Vincent Pizzuti, said to me was, always protect your identity. Never don't tell anybody or anything like that.
Which is also a slick way of saying where he can't get in trouble. It's a slick way of saying do what you got to do.
Well, I have paperwork on that. To
Right.
believe it or not, I don't know if I could hold this up. I have this is a real paper from, and we're gonna post it better. This stuff here is a redaction that the FBI did. I had gotten these paperwork from when I went to my when I was on trial with my second pinch that I took. And it kind of says here, and I'm not going to read this everything because there's just a lot to go by, but it says what I could do, what I was not, what all the stuff that I was able to do. And this is what I wanted to talk about, how the FBI, the end justifies the means. I don't want to say that I don't want anybody out there, just so you know, I don't want anybody to think I'm a disgruntled worker or just because the FBI threw me under the bus. But they didn't just throw me under the bus, or they didn't just tell on me and tell somebody. They threw me to the whole wolves. I mean, the whole jungle is what they did to me and the way they did it. And we'll get into it more, I guess, as we're talking. But if you read this, we'll be on our what's the other one you want to show this paperwork on?
The Patreon.
Yeah, we want to show this on the Patreon so you guys, because there's probably some legal people out there that probably can know and understand it. They give you this. I don't know if you guys ever saw The Devil's Advocate. They tell you at the one part of it, Al Pacino says, he puts everything in opposition. He says, look, don't touch, don't taste, taste but don't swallow. It's almost like what they do. They give you something to go on, and what are you supposed to do? I was allowed to talk. All right, you guys don't mind. I'm going to read just a little bit real quick. It says straight out here. He said, description authorized, otherwise illegal activity. It says, source can be expected to engage in criminal conversations, collections of debt, extortion, racketeering, loan sharking, attempted murder, laundering, money laundering, all of this kind of stuff. So you mean to tell me if I'm in a bar with guys that, and they get into a problem or whatever the case may be, I'm supposed to just sit there and say, I can only watch. You can't do that.
If you're going to be undercover, you got to play the part.
You have to be, and I think I've said it before, even when I was alone, I still acted like I was a gangster. I didn't want to get out of my role, if that's what, if you guys understand what it is to be like that kind of thing. I always had to be the man, whether I was in public or alone. I had to be the man I was portraying to be. What am I supposed to do? Act like I'm scared all of a sudden? You can't do that.
Well, those guys will sniff out any difference and any, they'll sniff it right out.
Listen, as much as people want to think that gangsters are this or that, listen, for the most part, I don't like them. I don't like a lot of them. And I didn't like a lot of them. There was only a very few that I did like. Okay? These guys are smart. They can smell you. They're it's like a lion in the desert. I mean, in the jungle, these guys, you can't fool these guys like that. Come on. You ain't think you're going to walk up to them and say, listen, I got a really good deal for you. The first thing they're going to say, well, if it's too good to be true, why are you bringing it to me? And, man, you can't win. You can't win. Even when you do got something good and something right, they still question you and give you a hard time. And I think we've mentioned this before. Look at Michael Francis making all this money with the gas and everything. They still gave him a hard time.
Yeah.
They're seeing more money than anybody else ever seen or anybody ever gave them in their life. And they're still breaking his balls. Come on. Give me a break. So that's why I had to be what I had to be. I mean, it wasn't easy. There was things I didn't want to do. But I had no choice. It was either that or goodbye.
What was your first assignment as a informant?
It wasn't no assignment. It wasn't like just an assignment. You just go out there, and I just acted the way I used to kind of like to act. I went around people I got around, and
you would just give them whatever information you wanted.
I collected information, whatever I heard in the street or whatever.
They never tasked you with anything specific to do?
No, and nobody ever said to me, listen, I don't know if they ever came to me and they said they heard there was a hit out on the judge or anything like that. I think they did at that time. But, and to be honest with you, like somebody had made another comment, because I said I never wore a wire. I think this was on the Connect podcast too as well. And, they said, you never wore wire, but then he says, I only wore wire one time. Well, it sounds good the way he's saying it, but the fact of the matter is, in the whole 18 years working as a spy, undercover, or an informant, whatever you guys want to say, it's fine, I never wore a wire. Get it straight. The second thing is I wore the wire after I took my second pinch against my co-defendant because I knew that the thing that he was talking about and what they wanted the information at that time was done and over with. He didn't even know what the heck I was talking about.
Yeah, for reference to the watchers and listeners, Joe's talking about a case where he was implicated, but the person who implicated him had no actual true intentions of going through with the crime.
That's
so
right.
Joe wore the wire to prove both of their innocences, and it did
right.
successfully do that. He got both of them cleared and proved innocent in that case.
At my trial, that's correct. Yep.
So-
That's correct. But this is what I say. I don't mind. I don't mind. Like I said, we were talking about, and I think even Dominic, my friend Dominic, on the Goodfellow podcast, and he says the same thing. You want to say something? Say the truth. You know, we don't. I don't care. He doesn't care. We don't. We done, and that's it. You understand? But don't make it sound like I said I wore a wire and I never wore a wire, and then all of a sudden I wore one. I mean, I just explained it, and that should just be enough.
Right. How did you balance your life between being an informant and your involvement in the mafia?
That's a difficult question. I'm still trying to sort that out in my own mind, even with my therapist. It seemed like, as you can see, I got white hair, whatever. I am 62, but still, I can't. It's kind of hard to fathom how it was that every day I was doing something I didn't want to do, and I think I knew it was about my dad. I kept that in mind. I kept focused on that, and I kept on focusing on how he used to be when he was a wise guy, because I seen how he used to act with people or whatever, because he was different at home, and he was different at home. He really was in a lot of ways. But I mimicked him a little bit. That's how really I kind of got my ideas a little bit from watching a few James Cagney movies and stuff like that. I was a pothead. I was 11 years old. I smoked weed. I wasn't really groomed like this, like Dominic. He was kind of groomed from a good guy, from Ernie back in those days. He was groomed. But
Who's Ernie?
Ernie Mascarelli. He's a real big shot in the Genovese family. And
Gotcha.
and matter of fact, he's so tough. Dominic's father, when he was alive, may he rest in peace, told me a story that he knocked some guy out in a bar, and they were all taking bets on how long the guy would stay unconscious for. That's how tough Ernie was. Yeah, Ernie was tough. But
Wow.
Ernie's the type of guy though. Another guy like Dominic, like you can talk to him about anything, especially if you're in that life. That's what I liked about the life in a way, and that's what kind of I was so into my role because I knew it could cost me my life. But I was so into my role, it almost like that's why I talk about. A lot of people say, "Oh, this guy's in love with Dominic." No, it was. I love Dominic as a friend and as a brother, but he's the type of guy you could tell him anything, and he never look at you like, "Are you stupid?" or whatever, unless it was stupid. You know what I mean? He would tell you, but I mean you never had to feel funny. You could walk up to him at anything. That's really a rare thing to have.
Right.
Like that, you know. As a matter of fact, I mean, Dominic played a lot of games with me out there. I had said a lot of times about how he used to test me. But we'll get into that. I don't want to cut you off. I know you have questions and stuff, so. And I want to get at this stuff about the FBI because I'm not a disgruntled worker. But what the FBI is doing out there is worse than any wise guy ever did because, see, a wise guy is a wise guy. You know who he is. Like if you get a guy like Ernie or Dominic or somebody like that walks into a restaurant, a bar, the mall, you know who he is when he walks in.
Right.
You understand? The FBI pretend they're the good guys because they do a few good things and all of this baloney, but they're really bad. And that's what I want to get out there.
What were some of the early challenges or growing pains that you faced in maintaining your cover?
Well, it was just knowing if I was doing the right thing. To be honest with you, I made mistakes out there. None that would cost me my life. I think pretty much those are pretty much.
Any times you accidentally slipped up and, someone was like, what? What was that? And you were like, oh, nothing.
One time I did.
How'd that go?
But I had. It was I had said that I was at Dominic's cousin's house. I think we were going to watch The Sopranos that night or whatever. Dominic stopped by, and I had gotten a chunk of money from the FBI. It was actually the money that they took from my father when he had the number stores in Mount Vernon. It was like, I don't know how much it was, like 14,000 or something. So they gave it to me because it was old. It was actually almost the money was like falling apart. That's how long, many years.
Wow.
And I took it in. I put it in the bank and whatever because it was all legal money, tax free. And I said, guy made my father's money after, like he said, he owed my father years' money. And Dominic had said something, I forget what it was. And, see, Dominic was no fool. And he said, you should have, he said, I wouldn't have took the money or something like that. I forget what he said at the time. But Dominic was sharp as a tack.
He said you shouldn't have took the money? Why not?
I forget exactly what he said, exactly how he said it, so I can't say because it was so long ago.
Well, we'll ask him. Hopefully,
I'll ask
we'll
him.
be able to get him on the show soon. And
I'd love to get him on the show.
Yeah.
I'd
maybe
love to ask him if he'd come on here. Yeah. But that would be good. I'll ask him. But but see, Dominic was quick. When I shook Sally Locker's hand that time, I told him what happened. He said the first thing you should have said was, "This is how you shake somebody's hand, like when somebody like my father introduced you." Dominic had all the answers, but he was a lot smarter than me in that life too, without a doubt, because
Well, some guys it just seems like are built for that life. Seems like he's one of those guys where he had the balls and the brains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Another rare thing out there. Some people just have one or the other. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he had both. But that's why I said there was another time I slipped up with him. I went to go say it was we went out to, it was me, Anthony Donato, Dominic, and Ace Aiello, Anthony Aiello, and then we all went out and everything, and then we would come back home, and it was me, Dominic, and Anthony. So I got out of the car the same side that Anthony got out, and I went to go say goodbye to him. He goes, "No, him first, because he's the captain. You kiss from the higher up down, not from the bottom up." And I didn't know that. And Dominic,
wow.
Yeah, and Dominic laughed at me. He said, "You're learning."
Oh,
See,
man.
because that's like a thing that anybody can kind of make that mistake.
Right. You're not necessarily going to get clipped for something like that. But.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you see, and he laughed, and I was like, "Son of a gun,"
Yeah.
So there's, you learn things as you go.
You ever hear the old story about Michael Franchese pouring the wine and how he poured?
If he didn't like somebody. I heard that. Yeah,
I'll pour it. If I don't like the guy, I'll pour his wine this way.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. You see, everybody has their own thing, and that's what I like. That's why I like Michael Franchese when he said that. Everybody has their own little. If they don't like somebody,
Codes.
Their own codes, their own. That's right. It's almost like when John Wayne was in that movie, The Shooters. You gotta live with a certain kind of things that you want to do.
What were some of the key operations or investigations that your information that you gave the FBI helped solve or anything like that?
I have no idea. The only one that I know of is the one with the hit on the judge and the assistant U.S. attorney.
So the information that you were giving the FBI, you weren't privy to what was being done with that information. They wouldn't tell you.
No, they didn't tell me all of that kind of stuff. I just brought them information and that was it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't know if they arrested anybody on that too, or that kind of thing.
How did your relationships with Mafia members evolve over time? And was it different? Did it start? Was it different after you became an informant? Did you kind of try to distance yourself from some of these guys, or not get too close, in other words?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think even, and I mentioned Dominic again, only because he said a lot of times I kind of was like on my own.
He said that to you when you were an informant, while you were an informant?
Yes. But he also said that I think on one of the on the Mafia Roundtable,
right,
where on his platform, him and I are talking. And I even think he said that too, because I kind of stayed away a little bit because I knew that, I guess in one way I had the makings of a real wise guy. And I knew that I would be tested, which I was tested plenty of times.
Right.
But, I didn't like what I was doing either, If I was going to be, I like to be really one or the other. But because I was an informant and still in that other realm with the wise guy's life, I was walking on a fence all the time, teeter-tottering, man. It tore me up.
Did it kind of ruin some of those friendships that you had?
Yeah, I mean, listen. To be honest with you, most of the wise guys, I didn't really like them. But there was
So you didn't even have many friends within that life.
No.
Wow.
No, I had mostly other friends in the street.
Yeah, but that weren't necessarily involved,
No.
tied in or anything with them.
I when I had this kid Pete Savinello, who I told all my stuff to, I told him because I did tell somebody, even though the FBI told me not to tell anybody what I was doing. I told this kid Pete Savinello.
Why'd you tell him?
I'll tell you because you always. I knew, look, the only other guy who knew I was really working undercover was my handler, Vinny Pizzuti. And
Right.
now, if anything happened to me, could I really depend on him to find out who killed me? So I said to Pete, I told Pete what I was doing. Figured he was my friend all these years. I know him for 100 years. His parents knew my parents, that kind of thing. And he knew all along, just in case anything happened to me and stuff like that. He was with me on some capers. He actually told the story about one caper that I won't mention it now, but he brought it up in the wrong time in front of wrong people, and I'll get into that another time. And but he then later on he stabbed me in the back too because he didn't want anybody to know that he knew. So when I took my second pinch, he went around saying, "Yeah, he's a rat, this and that." Meanwhile, he's telling that at he's going around telling everybody
himself.
that driving my 2009 Escalade.
Because what was he facing any kind of danger if people found out that he knew the whole time and kept it quiet?
He would just be like, I guess most people, since he didn't, most people would say like, we don't want to talk to you or something anymore.
Yeah, I gotcha.
He wants to try to keep his reputation. Listen, reputation is everything.
Right.
And that's why it's another reason why what I did is messed up because you ruin your reputation.
Were there moments when you feared for your life or thought your cover was blown? Tell me about some times where you thought for sure, oh, I'm fucked.
Yeah, there was plenty of times. Matter of fact, I have one FBI report right here too. You can see it. It's redacted a little bit too. I don't know why, but if you don't mind, I'll read this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is from 2005. It said sources me. So sources' ability to gain the trust of these high LCN members, LCN is La Cosa Nostra, on behalf of the FBI speaks to his level of street knowledge, adaptability, and loyalty and sensitivity to the FBI mission. And you'll also be able to see this on the Patreon. We'll put this up there so they can read it too. To the FBI, to the FBI mission. Where was I? The FBI mission. Source completed his work in a timely fashion, reliability, and accurately, all the while knowing he was dealing with one of the most dangerous LCN killers on the street. Source knew.
Who are they talking about there?
They could have been talking about Dominic. They could have been talking about Vinny.
Ace maybe?
Ace.
Yeah.
Could have been talking about anybody. I don't know exactly because they didn't put the name here. They might have put it up on top of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Source knew that at any time that is upon the least suspicion that he was assisting the FBI, that he would be killed. In fact, Source reported me that on some occasions during secluded late-night meetings, he feared for his life, wondering if he had been discovered. Source's assistance to the FBI if found out or otherwise disclosed, remains an ongoing concern for the source. The source has placed his trust and to a large extent his well-being in the hands of his handling agents. So you see, guys, was I tested? Was I scared? Yeah. I still went to this meeting, or meetings, as there was way more than one, and I never knew if I was found out. And to be honest with you, I'd like to see how many people would have went down there knowing that, not even if they was cooperating like I was or an informant like I was. Let's see them go down there even if they thought something was doing. Okay, so all these guys that want to say, he's this, he's that, let me see what you're going to do. Knowing I was going to get killed. Because let's face it, the people I was hanging around would have got rid of me like this.
Right.
Okay? And even my friend Dominic, which, like I said, he was true to that life, he would have took me out. And in one way, I would have wanted him to do that because it's him. And since I felt like, I guess you guys don't know, the martial arts I used to take up it was Japanese, so it was kind of like samurai based. And if you ever known anything about the samurai when they perform seppuku or the disembowelment of their stomach when they put the knife in their stomach, their best friend is somebody that they think is the second, somebody really close to them, is the one who cuts the head off. Well, since I was close to Dominic and I cared about him and I hated what I was doing, and some information what I gave on him, which was pretty much almost common knowledge anyways, I would have took it from him knowing.
Yeah, at face value, it seems like people just want to call you a rat and say like, "Yo, you had a choice." He says he doesn't have a choice, but he had a choice. But really, you really didn't. You really didn't have. And also, you hated what you were doing. You were just doing it for your dad. And that's, I think people don't give you enough credit for, they kind of get skewed the real reasons of why you did what you did.
Yeah, I'm not trying to pretend I'm any tougher than I ever was or anybody. I'm righteous or anything like that. But the bottom line is like I said, it's easy to say things, but let me see somebody walk in my shoes and let's see what it does to you.
Right. How did you handle or cope with the psychological and emotional toll of being undercover and living that life?
I didn't.
There was no coping. You just endured it.
Ruined my whole life. I couldn't be serious about a woman.
Why did you feel like that was the case?
Because I wasn't. I'm a firm believer in being yourself, being who you really are. If you're gonna be really in love with somebody and true love, I believe in true love. If you have true love, you want to be yourself. You don't want to be somebody else. How could I be serious with somebody when I'm lying and I'm out there living two different kind of lives?
I gotcha.
It's not. So I would wake up in the middle of the night, always thinking about this or that. You put your head on your pillow, you never really got no sleep.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and of course now I still have nightmares to this day. Yep, still have nightmares to this day.
I'm so sorry to hear that, man. That's horrible.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, like I said, I can't blame too many people except for myself, more or less. I'm the one who did it, but I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. But
it's a complicated story, and it can't really be, chalked up to he was right or he was wrong type of thing. Because there's in certain ways you were right, and in certain ways you were wrong. But
exactly.
It's kind of there's a lot of nuance. It's a nuanced situation that you really can't. People write nasty comments and stuff, and
I don't mind. Listen,
I don't really
everybody's
understand.
entitled to their opinion. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't come on the platform to not be able to take it. If I'm able to take something that well, in my life, I think I was able to take it. So if you want to write a nasty comment, I could take it. Just say what's true, though. Say what's right. I don't care. Your own opinion is your opinion is your opinion. That's fine too. But don't make lies up about me, like one guy saying I was going to be a rat anyway or whatever. You can't say anything like that. That's bullshit.
Was there any support that the FBI gave you during your years as an informant? Was there any kind of resources you had access to from them, or anything, any sort of help at all from them?
Nope, they didn't give me anything.
You were on your own.
On my own. They on my first pinch, they had given me. They taken a lot of weapons from me, my bulletproof vest and my 90s in the first pinch I took. And when they gave me back that money that I was talking about, I asked them if I could get my guns back too. I had an Uzi there, nice.
What'd
Uzi.
they say?
They couldn't give them back to me.
Were they legal to your name? Had serial numbers? No. Okay.
They had serial numbers. Some of them were scratched off, but still they couldn't give them back to me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, even though you scratch the serial numbers off, the bullet is when they make the gun.
The barreling, the rifling of the barrel.
Yeah, they shoot the gun and then they take the ballistics off it. So even if you scratch the serial numbers off, the ballistic of a bullet will still be registered to that gun.
Right.
Although I did know a guy who was actually selling guns before they did all of that stuff. Those guns were very expensive, and they're untraceable.
Really?
Untraceable, yeah.
Wow, they got special barrels.
Well, they just had the guns were off the assembly line before they were shot.
Oh.
Yeah. And so.
Oh wow! So you need an inside guy in the gun business for that.
That's a long story.
We don't got enough time for that one today.
And I don't want to expose anybody.
Yeah, I hear you.
I could have got those guns, and they're untraceable.
Wow, I didn't even know things like that existed.
Oh, yeah, it's like anything else. It's like if you go to the bread line, you're supposed to get 20 loaves of bread, now you get 18. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where'd the other two go? Somebody took it, but in the thing that they had their ways of doing things.
Was there any instances where you felt like the FBI mishandled the situation or put you at an unnecessary risk, other than when they outed you? But I mean, like, was there any times that you were like, yo, whoa, you can't, you can't do that?
Yeah, they really didn't care about me, and I found out later on in one of these FBI reports over here about what I was supposed to be able to do. Like I said about the loan sharking and everything. If you read it here, and it says, the approved officials have found that the activity is necessary to obtain information or evidence essential for the success of the investigation that is not reasonably available without such authorization. What does that tell you? So I have to still do it. They want the information, but now they want to, you got to, trying to micromanage how I get it. It was almost like when they gave me permission to kill somebody. Everybody goes, the FBI wouldn't do this, and it's crazy, but no. They didn't say go out and kill the guy. I said that.
They said do what you got to do.
Do what you have to do to protect yourself, but just let us know so we can protect you. No. What they want to let me know is so that they can protect themselves and then screw me and throw me under the bus still.
Right.
Who pulled the trigger, them or me? I'm gonna go to the court and say, listen, Your Honor, they told me to protect myself. I had to shoot the guy, otherwise I was gonna die. The Honor's gonna say, I don't care. They stick by the government, because guess what? They all get the paycheck from the government. I'm not paying them. The government's paying them. You think these guys are going to say, oh, yeah, well, no, we believe Mr. Barone. There was only a couple of things I got proven right at, say, at my trial, and I have transcripts of that as well, too, how they tried to throw me under the bus. I gave information more than what they said at my trial. Why? Because I knew the guy that was going to do it. I knew where he was going to go after he did it. Okay, so when they said it like this, they even got the thing. Like the Mr. Zach, he's an assistant U.S. attorney, and it says right here they pulled him to the sidebar, and he says I didn't want it to come out that way because he acted like I didn't do anything. So the court says this, and you can read this. I'll put this on the Patreon too. It's the transcripts from my trial. The court, that's meaning the judge. They said. Get back up there and tell them the facts. He says, okay. She says, or I'll do it. Okay? And then he says, I'll do it, Judge. I can say something else. See? I can say something else. I want to say that he gave information that contributed to helping. So she said, saving the life of a federal judge. He didn't lie on the stand about that.
Right.
Now, I didn't lie about anything. They're going to say I'm a liar, but she said I didn't lie about that. And he said, all right. So he goes back to the jury, right to the jury. His thing is right there in front of the jury. He said at sidebar, it was pointed out that through the course of his cooperation, in fact, Mr. Barone did give information to help us save a sitting federal judge's life. Okay? So this is what I'm trying to say about the FBI. Right there alone, you're denying what I did. Why would you do that if your case is so strong, if you have evidence against me, if I'm no good, if I'm all of this? When they deactivated me, okay, why did you do this to me to hurt me? Okay, and I think Dominic on the Mafia Roundtable, Dominic is now coming out with stuff to how that the people lied about him.
Really?
Oh yeah, you'll see it. If you guys turn to that, you'll see how he's going to come out with a 7-part series thing, he was saying. And here it is, they deactivated me. This is another Federal Bureau of Investigation paper, okay? Because I was working with Michael Trembetter after Vinny Pizzuti retired, which I was arrested 3 months after he retired. Does that sound a little funny to you?
Yeah.
You mean to tell me after 18 years now I'm no good? All the work I was doing, same thing. I never changed because I don't, that's it.
So he retired 3 months after you were outed.
He retired 3 months before I was outed.
Before you were outed.
Yep.
Gotcha.
We had lunch and everything. He said, Joe, my day is finally ended, but I wanted to be my last, have something with you, a beer. We had a couple of beers, some pizza.
So do you think that...
And he treated, by the way.
What? Oh, that's nice. Why do you think they didn't want to hand you over to another handler and then end the relationship right there?
Well, he asked me back in the days if I was willing to work with Mike Trembetter. At that time, I said, yeah. and I said, I don't know where it was at one time, I said I should have just walked away when he walked away. When he retired, I should have said I retired too.
Yeah.
And I would have never been in this trouble.
Right.
And I would have never got in trouble. I would have had my money, another job, my home, and my...
Is there informants that make it out like that? They're probably hard to hear about, right? Because if they were never outed, then how are you going to know they're an informant, right? But
it all depends. I think I was what they call a tier 2.
What's that?
They have different tiers for different informants. I was pretty high up there, obviously. But I think the tier 1 would have been if I would have took the stand against somebody. I never took the stand against anybody, so nobody would have known my cooperation. And there were other cooperators who maybe had to take a stand. They never did once they're outed like that. It's that,
Yeah, but I mean, they basically made you take the stand against somebody, and the way that they outed you, I mean, you might as well have took the stand against somebody at that point. The way they handled it.
Exactly, because like I said, never wore a wire, never took the stand, just gave information. But here it is. They said to me that they're going to deactivate me. Okay, and here it says general reasons, and it says others. So it says for cause of unauthorized criminal activity.
And what was it specifically they're talking about there?
Well, this is they were saying that I plan to kill somebody. Now,
okay.
This is the reason why I would have won my trial just on this piece of paper and the other evidence I had,
right,
and I still have, is because unauthorized activity. So think about it. It was a murder for hire plot. That was my second thing. There was never going to be no murder. I pretended. But I did that for the whole 18 years. And then early, I have paper that I went to my handler when the same guy, Tony Bolero, who I could talk about now, he's dead. And I'm still not talking bad about him. He came to me, wanted to whack this guy, Cliff. Cliff, I went to school with. I know Cliff. So I said, okay, let me know what you want to do, you know what I mean? And stuff like that we talked about a little bit. I knew he was posturing for me. He just wanted to act like he wanted something done. So anyways, I did report it to
What's the point of posturing? You've mentioned this word posturing before. What is the reason that people... I still don't understand it fully.
In other words, it's almost like you say you got a guy who's really like a nobody, and he knows a guy like me, a wise guy, a knock-around guy, whatever you want to call me, or like an actor. If you see a guy that's an actor in the street, or a woman that's an actor in the street, or an actress, I know you're not supposed to say that now, but I still say an actress. When you meet them and all of a sudden you pretend like, well, I did a show when I was a kid, I was on a Broadway play here and there, so you kind of want to act like you're with them.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's almost like if you hang around with people enough, you want to things rub off. That's why they said if you hang around,
So the guy was just talking shit.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wanted to pretend like, hey, wow, look, Tony.
I'm looking to have this guy whacked.
The
he's
only guy
pissing me off.
Yeah, the only guy that maybe he knew a couple other people, but he came to me with it, So it's like, he just wanted to feel like he was like, wow, Tony's a good guy, and all of this kind of shit like that, Because I told you I collected money for Tony once. He was so happy. This guy owed him money for 6 years. I got it for him in one day, one phone call.
So anyway, I didn't mean to get you off track there. We'll go back to what you're saying.
So they wanted to deactivate me for what they said here, unauthorized criminal activity.
Right.
All my criminal activity was unauthorized for 18 years. I didn't change. In other words, I conducted myself the whole way, the same way, because I didn't know how to do anything better, like you asked me. Nobody gave me a lesson. Nobody said you can't do this, so how do you get out of that?
Right.
What do you do when you're caught in this situation? I had to just do it all on my own. So unauthorized activity, really, in one way, what does it mean?
It's a total crock of shit because they're making stuff up because you're doing the same thing for them for 20 years, and then as soon as you're not useful to them anymore, he's doing illegal criminal activity or unauthorized criminal activity.
In the early years, when I went to my handler about the hit on Cliff that I was telling you about, he was just posturing for me then, and Vinny even said it. He said to me, Joe, ask him for $50,000 up front. He said, if he gives you the $50,000, then we'll look into it. If not, then it's all bullshit. He said that to me. My handler.
Vinny Pizzuti said this, yeah.
My handler said that to me. Well, I asked him for the 50. I didn't get it, and that was it. And the bottom line, I knew it was bullshit anyways. Well, what they said to me here to try to mess with your head, they said, well, why didn't you tell Michael Trimbetter about this hit? This potential hit.
Right.
Well, to be honest with you, I've been doing this for all this time. Why do I have to tell him about something that's never going to happen? In other words,
Yeah.
look, they
No, I
wanted
totally understand that.
yeah, they wanted information on gangsters. This guy's not a gangster. He's just talking to me.
Just talking out of his ass.
I went to the kid Mike though. The kid Mike. I said, look, because I hung around with all kinds of people. So this kid Mike, this guy Mike, and he says, I told him, he said, what's going on? I said, listen, I said, I got somebody. So what I did was I thought to myself, I got two good things here. I'll make Mike go up there. I got the address from Tony. I make Mike go up there to look at the house and everything like this. The guy took a video of it. It was like, I think in the summertime, like whatever, or the fall. Came back with the video and he said he can't do it. So what I did was I gave him $1,000. Thanks for looking out. Made me look like a big shot in front of him. So I cleared him up now. Now he thinks I'm an action guy. I got things going on.
Yeah.
I tell Tony, well, my guy went up there and looked at it. He saw the road. It's a road like I described it to Tony. I said, it can't be done. And that should have been the end of it. That was it. The only reason why it got reactivated in the law enforcement was because Mike got pinched doing something wrong. And then he brought...
The guy you sent up there to take pictures.
I called him Black Mike. He was a real thug,
Uh-huh.
And he went and told his guy that he went to, and he's like, I got a real gangster, wants me to kill somebody. And then he looked up my name, and of course then they went through all the proper channels.
Right.
And that's how I got arrested. But yet, you mean to tell me, let's face it, all these years, I didn't do nothing, everything like this, and you couldn't just say, okay, Joe, we don't want to work with you no more. You don't have to put down unauthorized activity. Just let me go. See, because in here it says, right here, he says when I got this thing I got arrested in January 9, 2009. This is date here is 1/23/2009. So it said for cause unauthorized criminal activity. Then it says on January 9, 2009, the CHS, which is I guess confidential informant or source or whatever they use it, was arrested by Squad C5. I'll tell you about that in a second.
Which is your squad.
No, C5 is another squad. I'll tell you about that in a second.
Okay.
By Squad C5 of the New York FBI Office for Unauthorized Criminal Conduct. On July 1st, 2009, the CI was deactivated by FBI Sergeant or Special Agent Michael Trombetta. The CH was not notified regarding the notice to close by Sergeant Trombetta. The CHS will be notified by Squad C5 and will be considered for future activation by Squad C5. Now let me ask you a question. You're going to reactivate me after you arrest me on this bullshit charge? Really?
You got to be a dummy if you say yes to them after that.
This is where, oh, exactly. This is where it comes, what I had said before on other platforms, and I think I did on this one. It's called informant shopping. They arrested me because they wanted to have something over me. See, Michael Trombetta wasn't as Michael Trombetta wasn't as powerful as the guys in C5 Squad. C5 Squad actually was a Genovese crime family squad.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their sole task was for. So they have Genovese, Bonanno, Lucchese, Gambino, and whoever else. Okay, they have different squads for that. So now you mean to tell me you arrested? They wanted me to work for them, and as in other previous episodes, I said they wanted me to work for them, and this is what they did. They arrested me. Then, when I was missing, they said, "Oh, just tell them you met some all this nonsense." These guys here had no idea what it was to work undercover. Even though Michael Gator was the head of that squad there, he thought, who the hell, he thought his shit didn't stink. I think he did stuff overseas and all of this kind of stuff.
He was an FBI guy or?
FBI guy, Mike Gator, yep. And I almost had a fight with him and the other guy. They threatened me in my car. Almost was about to have a physical fight with them. And they all said, oh, well, because one of the guys there, what was his name? It was a Michelle, I forget what his name, but they all pretend how tough they was. I was like, guys, without your gun, you ain't got shit on me. I don't care what kind of training you had in the FBI headquarters. You know what I'm saying? Really? But that's how bad they were. I ain't never had a disagreement with Vinny in my 18 years I worked with him as my handler. Never a fight like that. Never nothing. He never doubted me. He never said this and that. No.
Do you think it's because you guys came from similar backgrounds? He was an Italian guy, you're an Italian guy.
Everybody knows a little bit. That helps a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
to get along. And don't forget too. I think one of his roles in the FBI was also he was like some kind of a social, like, like a profiler, like that type of thing. Like he can figure you out by listening to you,
Yeah,
talk,
yeah.
hearing some stories about you, what kind of person you are.
I gotcha.
But these guys were horrible. They didn't care. And then I asked Mike Trombetta too not Mike Trombetta, Mike Gator from I was with alone with him in this big table and everything. And they said, I said, man, you don't even care that I saved the judge's life. He went, just like that, shook his head. See, this is what I'm trying to tell everybody out here. All the stuff that you see in the news, how the FBI is doing this and doing that, and not only to just the Donald Trump, because it's not about being a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or whatever the hell you want to be, conservative. You need to see what something's wrong. If you see a car and you're driving and it's swerving, well, you think of two things. The guy's having a heart attack, the guy's drunk. Nowadays, he's on his phone, passed out, right? But you
Right.
can see the car is swerving. Must be a reason, right?
Right.
Well, it's the same thing here. This FBI, the people, what they're doing, look what they're doing to everything out here. They're no good. Yeah. Do they stop a terrorist attack? Wow. Because you got technology, you got unlimited funds, and you would intercept a phone call or something like that, or a computer thing, because you got a tip on something. Because let's face it, the FBI would have nothing if there was no informants like myself. If nobody ever ratted on anybody, these FBI people would do nothing. Stop talking on your phones and doing all the stupid stuff like that, and they have nothing. Even Joe Pistone, who was actually the guy that was Donnie Brasco in that movie with, in that
A Bronx Tale, right?
No. When he
Donnie Brasco?
Donnie Brasco.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Okay, so he even said, without us, you have nothing. The FBI's got nothing. Okay? And this is what they do to their informants. They expose me to the world.
Terrible.
Thanks, FBI. And I had mentioned a long time ago about what they did with Willie Boy Johnson. They exposed him too, and look what Willie Boy Johnson is. He's dead.
Right. Did you feel your time with them kind of coming to a close? Could you see it on the horizon, or was it sort of out of nowhere when they outed you like that?
It was a lot of years already. Years go by quick.
Yeah.
Especially if you got regular job and everything. I was working 2 different jobs, so it went really fast. But I was getting tired. Like I said, I didn't like what I was doing, and it was wearing me down to a point. Look, I guess I could take a lot of punishment and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I was tired. And I just didn't know if I could just walk away in a way too. Like it's almost like you can't really walk out of life as a gangster. You can't walk away from the life. You can't say, okay, listen, guys, I hit the lotto. I'm gonna walk away. I don't want to be a gangster no more.
What would happen if nobody tries to do that because they know you can't do that, or like what do they try to kill you if you try to escape?
Well,
I'm
because
sure
you're almost a liability still.
right.
I guess
You're a loose end.
You're a loose end. Just because you're living a high life now, you might. It's almost like you don't have a purpose or a cause anymore.
Let's face it, some of these guys were stupid too. Implicate themselves on their own.
Well, yeah, of
Years
course.
later down the line,
And
credit card statements or
Well, yeah,
whatever the
anything
case
can
may be.
happen. But listen, you got to remember these guys. You don't have a cause when you're in the mafia, or if you're in any organization. It gives you a purpose, a cause. If you're in a club, a gang, whatever, it makes you feel like you got something. That's why a lot of guys join the Crips or the Bloods or skinheads and everything, because it makes you feel like you have a belonging, a sense of people need you, people want you, got responsibility. So people like that. People need that.
Yeah,
So it's that kind of thing.
I gotcha. What was the process of transitioning out of the role as an informant, or was it kind of just, as far as I understand, there really was no process, right? It was kind of
I was locked up, and that was it, man.
they locked you up, and that was, and then when you came out, everybody and their mothers knew who you were, an informant.
Yeah. Even my friends never. One of my friends said to me, "I don't even know you.
Oh
I
man,
don't even know who you are. Who are you?"
damn, that's tough.
Yep. So what does that tell you? I mean, you're on nobody. You can't go to the mafia. You can't go to the government. You can't do nothing. You're all alone.
And how did the FBI ensure your safety after it went public? Or
Well, because they kind of had no choice and they had to make themselves look like they did the right thing, or they, whatever the case may be, they said they offered me the witness protection program, I think like 2 or 3 times. But would you take the antidote from the same people who gave you the poison?
absolutely not.
I wouldn't trust them. I figured they would want to get me killed too.
Yeah.
I don't trust them one bit. After all the nice things, or supposedly nice things I did for them, and all of this information and all of this blowing, they didn't care one bit. Not nothing.
That's so terrible.
That's what I said, man.
Well, Joe, here's my last question for you: is looking back, how do you feel about your years as an undercover informant, and what impact do you think your work had? And do you regret it or not?
I just regret the whole thing, man, to be honest with you. I don't know if it had a great impact on anything. I don't know if I think I saved the judge's life. I'm not sure. People did get arrested after that. Then of course, you found out maybe why, but, because it was in the papers and stuff like that. But I don't know what I contributed to, except for the fact that I feel like I wasted all those years. I should have just did my time. I never still found out anything what happened to my father, who killed him, if he was even killed or not. I could have had a wife and kids,
Do you think you'll ever find out?
I don't know. I told him when I was in court, I said, here it is. Let's say somebody hits the lotto and they can go out and change their life. Well, what is a guy like me, if I would have won my trial and everything, if they would have had a $20 million lawsuit, of course they kicked it out. If I would have won that $20 million lawsuit, okay, it sounds like it's a lot of money, which it is. What was I supposed to do? It's not like I can go around hitting the lotto.
What's the $20 million when none of your friends, family, or anybody that you knew?
That's what I'm saying.
Won't talk to you anymore, and they think you're a rat, and they fucking don't like you anymore. And what's the $20 million use at that point?
That's what I'm trying to say. All it does is just make me live the rest of my days, hopefully, in peace and quiet. Hopefully, will I have nice things? Of course I will. But it's not like I can go and say, hey, and have fun with somebody. I'm at the age where, even if I would have won the money back then, even in my late 50s, what am I supposed to get married? I know they said, well, somebody got married in their 70s and their 80s and this and that. And well, that's nice. But I have no family, really. All I would do is have a companion, if you want to say it that way.
You mentioned earlier you had a sister. I didn't know about that. Do you still talk to her?
Not since 2006.
Really?
She's got mental problems.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know.
She's one of those kind of people who cut themselves, wash
gotcha.
their hands 1,000 times, the skin falls off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's scared about everybody. Yeah, thank you. I don't have nothing against her. I don't wish her no bad, but I just don't talk to her no more.
I hear you.
It's a shame, but that's the way she wants it. So I have no problem with that either.
Well, Joe, that's pretty much all the questions I have today for you.
Thanks.
We hit on a lot of great points and set the record straight even further.
That's what I'm here to do. Tell the truth.
We're getting the truth and the about the FBI out there and what they are truly, which is really they're a criminal organization in and of themselves.
They're the real. They are. That's another reason why I had been co-host also with the Mafia Roundtable, was because Dominic had a good message about the life itself. The best way to put it is the FBI is no good. The wise guys are no good. I was fortunate. Listen, I was very fortunate that I met somebody like Dominic in there. I liked Chili too, but and there was a couple of decent people when I say decent, you know what I mean by to me, I've been around that less, so but I was very fortunate to meet somebody in that caliber.
Right.
But not everybody does that. But that life is not. It's just not worth it.
Well, before we wrap up here, I think there were some shout-outs you wanted to do.
You don't mind?
No,
there was a couple
whatever
of things
you want to do.
Yeah. I like to always answer the viewers and people who put a comment, and I appreciate all of them, negative, good, bad, whatever you guys want to say. I don't care. Some of them I won't answer because I'll be just like, yeah, okay, whatever, you're a jerk.
All right, well, let me get some of these pulled up here.
There was one I saw about Charlie Bonanno.
Yeah, why don't you start with that one?
I don't know. Can you read it? Can you find it?
Yeah, let me find that real quick.
It was a guy from, I forget where he's from, Warren Street. I want the exact question so I could answer it exactly the same.
Right. Well, while I'm scrolling, finding it here, I'll read this one for you, so you can answer this at least
Sure.
while I find it. Frosty 98206 says donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. I would have been happy too if someone walked up and handed me 2 donuts, especially if I hadn't had them in a while. And that's responding to the story you told in prison about
Yeah.
when they used to bring Dunkin' Donuts
Well,
and that.
well, thanks, Frosty. And I also wanted to add to that. When I gave Danny Ticchio the 2 donuts when he was having his coffee, I want to show you what kind of guy Danny Ticchio was, okay? And this is how important the life is. He never said thank you for the donuts. Like, he gave me the nod, but he never talked about it again. So you give somebody like that the donuts. He was like I said, he was a skipper from Staten Island, and but we never talked about it. And see, that's the way that's the way you should be. You're doing something wrong, you keep quiet. Just like the guy Light who gave me the loaf of bread. That was nice. I did expose it now on here, but that was 30 years ago. Don't care. And I didn't give you the CO's name who let me in with the 2 loaves of bread. But what I'm saying is, you get that loaf of bread, you just enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Because the little moments in life, no matter where you're in prison or in the outside world, you want to just, just keep your mouth shut. You know what I mean? But yeah, thanks for that question for us. Thanks for that comment for us. I appreciate it.
I'm still trying to find this this Charlie Buono comment, Joe.
Okay, I can find it real quick if you want.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on here.
Okay, hold on. I want to say something about it because it's.
I've just found it.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
Was it the one about the East Bronx, East Harlem? Hi,
No.
Joe. Loved your content. Quick
No.
question. Do you know which neighborhood Barney grew up in? East Harlem and several Bronx neighborhoods and Yonkers, I would think, are the possibilities.
I don't know where exactly Barney was, but Barney hung out. He was more or less what they call them Harlem guys. You know what I mean? Here it is. I think this is it. Yes. So basically, but Barney is a Bronx guy from, I guess, his whole life. And like I said, Barney is definitely the real deal too himself. He speaks Italian fluently and stuff like that. And that's another thing I wish I kind of spoke Italian really, because it's nice to have 2 different languages or more or whatever, But yeah, I guess he's more or less based in the Harlem crew. I got the question.
Yeah, go ahead, whenever you're ready.
So this question here says, I have 2 questions for Joe. I grew up knowing Joey as a kid. I lived on Warren Street in the West End. What happened between you and Charlie Buono, and why was there a fallout? And then he says, also, my son is a podcaster in North Hollywood and would like to have you on his podcast. Can this be possible? Thanks, Howie. Well, Howie, you tell your son, of course it could be possible. Try to get in touch with some, over here, and we'll definitely give you the information so we can talk. You don't have to put it on air or whatever, personal information. Then I'll get in touch with your son, and we can sit down, talk a little bit, and then maybe get something going, right?
Yeah. Send us an email on goodfellowpodcast@gmail.com. That's our email. Or just leave a comment, and we'll get back to you, exchange information, see if we can make that happen for you.
Okay, so Charlie Buono. Charlie Buono was a guy that I know for long years. I think he's about a year older than me. Charlie Buono was not a bad guy at one time. But what happened was he started hanging around with me and Lenny, and then he started getting a little addicted to what at that time, back in those days, the Black Beauties. It was speed. Charlie's a tough kid too. Was a good boxer, good fighter. He hit you hard as a nails. I mean, he had like a fist like a sledgehammer. He could take a real good beating too, because I seen him get jumped. I seen him after he got jumped at this place. We used to call this place in the Bronx Herpes Triangle. He was in the Bronx. There was like 3 different clubs there. Well, he got beat up out there pretty bad. I mean, his whole head was like lopsided.
Oh, man.
So yeah, he took a really bad beating. And so Charlie was good, but then Charlie got addicted to drugs. Now, when I came home from my first bid, it was actually before my first bid. My father wanted to hang around with, like, grab Charlie to kind of hang around with him a little bit, because I guess my father could have used him for certain things. Mm-hmm. But Charlie was just, my father saw that he was messed up on the drugs. And so my father introduced him to a girl, and he grabbed the girl hard by the arm. And my father said, "Oh, take it easy, Charlie." So he said, "You got a boyfriend to the girl?" And she says, "No, I don't." He goes, "Well, fuck him anyway." Yeah, that's how messed up he was on drugs. Yeah, Charlie would get us into fights all the time. I didn't notice, but he was in the back seat of the car. Lenny or myself would be driving, and there would be other guys in the car that we saw on the side. We didn't know, but he was giving them the finger or something.
Oh my God.
We never knew that we caught him one time doing it, and that's how we knew we got into all these fights. Because Charlie's a fighter. Yeah, Charlie's
Holy
a real
shit.
fighter. Yeah. But Charlie, when I came home from my first bid, he started coming around trying to help me out. He gave me a couple bucks here and there. And I said, "Charlie, you don't got to give me any money." He goes, "No, Joe, I want to help you out." Now, Charlie had went around saying that I asked him to kill somebody for me. That never happened, okay? It never happened between me and Charlie. A lot of times I did say to him, "Charlie, this piece of shit guy," he goes, "Joe, you want me to take care of it for you?" In conversation. But I said, "Nah, don't worry about it, Charlie." Never did I ask him to kill somebody for me, ever.
Right.
And that's the God's honest truth. He actually wanted to kill. He told me he was gonna kill my friend Lenny Monteleone when he went to his car in the garage. It was in a kind of a quiet neighborhood, and I did tell Lenny that. So I did say that against you, Charlie, in that respect, because I didn't want to see Lenny get killed. And I think you would have regretted it later on. I don't know, but there was no love lost between Lenny and Charlie, even though they still hang around to this day.
They still hang out with each other to this day?
This is what I don't understand, but whatever. And then Charlie said that he went around saying that there was a $100,000 price tag on my head, that he was offering $100,000 for my head. He might have said that joking around because he's on drugs. I don't know. But he also did try to get me. He tried to really like say that I killed somebody, and that's why. But the falling out with me and Charlie, I don't know if there's anything else that I'm not aware of. If that's the case, fine. Charlie did rob my house once too. Okay,
Oh wow.
Yep, he put a ladder on. I lived in kind of like where he was living, sort of like in this apartment building. He robbed my house because he was on drugs, and he took a couple of guns out of my house and stuff like that.
Damn.
He might have used them in the commission of a crime. I'm not really 100% sure because he never told me. But he robbed me, and yet I was still kind of nice to him. You know what I mean? But I don't really care for Charlie Boone no more because he don't care about me. And if we ever run into each other, whatever happens. That's on him. I'll make him try to make the first move. But Charlie, that's the reason why. How, if you don't mind, that's all I know of it. I don't know if Charlie has anything else to say to me or not. But he can make a comment if he wants, and he can whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, it was another comment or anything?
Yeah, there's a couple more. So we got Munkle Saw says, I haven't been reminded of Mac Dress Mafioso in over a decade.
Who?
Mac Dress Mafioso? I'm not sure. I don't know what he's saying there.
I don't know either. Mac Dress? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Some of these...
Sorry, we can't answer that, but if you want to clarify it...
Yeah, comment on the next one.
I'll answer it, like I said, whatever it is.
Some Mark GG6IY says, this rich mafioso complaining about the FBI.
Rich mafioso?
Yeah, talking about you.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I was rich, but of course I'm talking about the FBI. They screwed me over. They screwed more than one people over. They keep screwing the government over. They're an entity in upon itself. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about them. If you like them or if you were part of them, you let me know. You can always talk about it.
I don't know if we answered this one at the end of the last episode that we did, but this guy says, Michael Watson says, keep your head up, Joe. Mike from Kentucky.
Oh, I don't know.
Did we get to that one?
I don't know, but thank
have.
you, Mike. I appreciate it. That's very kind of you. Yeah, I'm doing the best I can. To be honest with you, I am. I'm trying to do the best I can.
This Jimmy Boudreau 4207 says, damn, what a depressing story. He said, just like my dad, he shot himself right in front of me.
Wow.
Joe, that's tough.
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry that happened to you because that's.
Sorry about that, Jimmy.
That's something you got to live with the rest of your life, and that never goes away. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
Sorry
Absolutely.
about that, man.
I think that's all the comments we had from the last video.
Oh, good.
Joe.
All right, so there wasn't too many.
Just a couple. And then, so next week, guys, on next week's episode, Joe wanted to address some of the more angry comments on the Connect podcast and set some of the haters straight.
Yeah.
Which we did a little bit a couple episodes ago. It's the name of the episode is Joe Barone Sets the Record Straight. Well, next week we're going to have Joe Barone Sets the Record Straight Part 2.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get to answer now that we have some documents and things to, evidence to back up what we're saying and, and that sort of thing. So if you like today's episode, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever you'd like. We appreciate it. And go check out our Patreon. We're also on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Podcasts. And thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.